Okay, it is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll do roll call. Bonnie Benz. Here. Sherry Bowman. Here. Mercedes Evans. Here. Michelle Ford. Here. Jennifer Kluger. Here. Lisa Pecker. I'm here. Emily Smith. Here. Theo Levy. Good. Okay, we'll begin now with our first period of public comment. If you would like to share public comment, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I'm William Keller. I live at 2125 Chestnut Street. I have a driveway out the back of my house to Yale Avenue. And I've been there for 30 years. During this time, I've seen various neighbors parking in what I regard as my curb space and on both streets, sometimes causing problems for the snowplow and the leaf collectors. And in one case, a couple years ago, a fellow across the street made a U-turn with both of his cars and parked one in front of my house, one in front of the next door neighbor's house. And this way, the snowplow would come by, it would clear a large space real close to the curb on his side of the street, but our side of the street would have big clumps of packed snow from the snowplow. And subsequently, the snowplow would come by and it would just fill in the my next door neighbor's driveway. Now, over the years, I've commented on this and asked, and I've found various interpretations of the laws about parking. I found in most of my neighbors, I think, would agree that your curb space is your curb space, and it's not available for a next door neighbor or another person to take up permanent residence for their vehicles in front of your curb space. Now, I have no objection whatsoever if they're having a party and there's some overflow from the guests in front of my property. They can park there because I know they're going to be gone for a while. But I'd like to know, do we have a policy, or can we make a policy about where you can about parking in front of other people's property, specifically long-term, an entitlement to use their space? Do we have a policy? Can we make a policy?
Thank you for your comment. I will have somebody get in touch with you about that.
I'll give you an off-the-cuff remark about it, and that is the last time I looked at that issue. Sorry. The last time I had occasion to look at that issue, the rule really is it's not an enforceable thing to put a no parking or a limited parking sign in the public right of way adjacent to a residence unless the property owner has a disability and has to be located within a certain distance from their door. You can put such signs up or cones in the street, but you're at risk of having them taken down, ignored, or potentially amount to a code violation, unfortunately. So unless the borough were to ordain, and again, I don't think they can ordain personal parking spaces on a public right of way, there's really nothing that can be done to address that issue unless you're dealing with something with someone parking on your private property. But if it's in the public right of way, it's really not something that can be regulated unless you have a disability.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? We'll have to follow up with conversation afterwards. Are there any other comments? Okay. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Any conversation, any changes needed to the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none then, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of the approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. First on the agenda for tonight then is the manager's report.
Good evening. I just have a couple things to note. We had an application that the borough staff submitted along with HRG's assistance to two programs, with state and federal funding, the small sewer and water program and also the H2O program. Both of these were for sewer infrastructure grants. Very exciting, very flashy. If we get any money at all, it would be very delightful. We asked for quite a bit, so I would take anything that they would give us. We did submit those two in December. The streetscape is making some progress again. We have submitted the revised HOP permit application for the Market Street Streetscape project, with the reduced scope that council set to reduce the length of the streetscape space to 20th Street. We already received approval for the lighting portion of the HOP, and we're waiting for comments or hopefully final approval of the HOP for the rest of the improvements. I did want to note that the Conde de Gwinnett Greenway plan has been finalized. If you recall, Pete Simone from Simone Collins was here a few months ago to present that plan to you for your information. We, the borough of Camp Hill, are not actually involved in the Greenway. We're not directly touching any of the areas that are intended to be included in the Greenway, but they're looking for regional advocates for the plan. So you might want to take a look at that on the Conde de Gwinnett Greenway, Friends of the Conde de Gwinnett Greenway website, I think. And I hope everyone received their utility letter. We did send that out at the end of December. I believe people received it just in time for the new year. And I'm sure we're delighted with the news about the higher rate. The sewer bills are going out, sewer and trash bills are going out tomorrow or Friday. So that's all the news in the new year.
Okay, on to reports of committees and board liaisons. On the first committee report will be public safety. We'll start with the mayor's report, please.
All right, thank you. Real briefly, you have the reports in the packet for the police department. In December, they handled 606 calls. We also have the year-end report for 2022. The total calls for the year were 7,463. Fire department ran 28 calls in December, 64 hours. We're currently in the process of our annual recertifications for CPR, bloodborne pathogens and infectious disease control, hazardous materials, gas emergencies. We're going to get trained with UGI, and electrical emergencies with PP&Ls and do a training course as well. We're also working on the AFG grant, and we're going to go for funding for the radio systems. So be more to come on that. And also, I will present to you for next month the end of the year report for 2023 for the fire department. That's the report.
With regard to the 2022 report and then the total number of calls, I'm just curious, how does that compare to the prior year?
For the police?
Yeah.
I don't have that info, but we'll get that for you.
Yeah, Jen, I had the same question. It'd be nice to see like year over year, how are we trending, if there's something going up or something going down.
Wow, the last several years.
Yeah, that'd be
Through the
really
last,
cool.
one of the last 3 years. Prior.
Yeah, pre-COVID, COVID, yeah.
We'll have that for you next month.
Awesome.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to have an action item to request to promote Officer Carson O'Connor to the position of sergeant effective January 15th, 2023. We had 2 officers who took the sergeant's exam in December that passed.
Officer O'Connor scored very high, so that's the reason he's coming up for promotion first. And for reference, the two promotions, the two sergeant openings were part of the budget for this year. But there was a little gap because Sergeant O'Connor has less experience in terms of like years of service. So his salary is going to increase exponentially, and what was budgeted for was a little bit lower than that. So the way that the department and the borough decided to cut into that gap, or cut that gap, is that they're gonna hold off on hiring a replacement until June 2024. So there's gonna be an officer that's retiring this summer, and his position's not gonna, that's according to the calculations of our finance director. Do we have any questions? Oh, and we've been talking about the sergeant's promotions the last two public safety meetings. Okay, thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. The next report on the agenda is Public Works. Jennifer.
We recently met on Tuesday, January 3rd. A more comprehensive summary is included in the packet as part of the monthly minutes. We will meet again on February 7th at 8 a.m. For the purposes of this evening, we have a total of 6 action items, one of which is for us to approve 8 items for auction for sale on municipal. If you recall, we've done that recently with great success. So those items are per the recommendation of our Public Works Director. Those items are a used flusher hose, small picnic tables, a truck 6 leaf box, truck 12 leaf box, a Kubota mower, a shock air compressor, a leaf picker, and a snowplow. So, any questions about that? We will receive those whatever bids are made, we will review those as a committee on February 7th, and then we'll put those before council on the 8th for approval. And no other questions, I will turn it over to Mike. We have 2 change orders, 2 payment applications, a draft amended plan, and I'm sure you will update us on the latest situation with the pump station.
Yes,
Thank you.
The first couple items I have are pretty routine, and then we do have some more later on in my report that are a little trickier. To start, and I just go to an order for the report. For the 2022 paving project, that work is complete. The contractor got a punch list. They worked through the punch list. We're satisfied with the cleanup work that they did, and we're ready to call that complete. At this time, there is no remaining payment due, but we do request approval of change order number 2 in the amount of negative $17,633.22 to reconcile the final installed quantities, and that takes us down to the balance that's already been paid. At that point, we can close the contract. So that would be one of our requested action items. For the 34th and Walnut Sewer Replacement Project, I'm pleased to say that one is also complete at this point. That one also has a change order associated with it in the amount of, again, negative $25,467.74. And there are 3 reasons why the cost of this one came down a little bit. One is reconciling the final installed quantities that came in slightly lower than the bid quantities. There's also some reimbursement due to the borough for their own labor and equipment associated with, there was an error in reconnecting one of the laterals. So the borough had some work to do there to make things right by the homeowner over the weekend. And the borough also had Toronto Plumbing do some work to take care of that homeowner over the weekend. And we can offset the contractor's final payment in that amount to reimburse the borough for their expenses. So our first requested action item on that project would be the price reduction change order. And then if that passes, we would request approval of the final pay application, and that amount depends on the change order, which is why we request the change order be approved first. But when we get to that point, we would request approval of application for payment number 3, which is the final one, in the amount of $49,369.10 to Wexcon Inc. I said that some of these would be easy, that's the end of the easy. Now we get into the tricky ones. Cedar Park Pump Station Replacement Project. For the pump station building itself, with the contractor HRI, we've received an application for payment in the amount of $44,821.12. This is for their mobilization cost and some overhead costs they have before they get started. We reviewed those numbers and we're comfortable with them, so we recommend payment in that amount to HRI. HRI is the pump station building contractor, not the lining contractor. For the lining contractor, in situ form, as I've been talking about for the last couple of months, we're having issues with them. The lining attempt in 25th Street failed. They hired another contractor to come in and dig and replace. We've had some negotiations on both the 4th and the 6th of this month about some costs that they're claiming associated with bypass pumping and timing and remobilization. Ultimately, we haven't reached an agreement on those costs. In situ form has also submitted their first application for payment. They sent it in too late for this meeting, so we'll have to come up in February. We also dispute some of the numbers in their first application for payment. So we have some money disputes with in situ form. But wait, there's more. Yesterday, in situ form attempted to line the second run of the project, which is under Cumberland Boulevard. In our price negotiations, they agreed to continue with that work, even though the dollars and cents were still in dispute. Their second lining attempt also failed. We found this out yesterday afternoon. We got a call from our inspector. As of today, this afternoon, we got the video footage and we're able to review it, and it has failed. The liner's wrinkled and bunched up inside so that the full diameter of the pipe isn't available to flow. We said, well, in situ form, what's your proposed remedy? And I think at about 4 o'clock this afternoon or 3:30, they gave us a proposal to install another liner within the failed liner. That they would go in for about 20 or 30 feet and cut out where it's bunched up, and then try and line through the whole thing again with another liner. We're pretty skeptical of that approach. They have a pretty high burden of proof if they're going to convince us that that can be done in accordance with the project specifications. But we're reviewing it. I mean, we're looking through what they submitted, and we'll have to give them a response, in accordance with the time prescribed by the contract. I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse. If that is a no, then it'll be in situ form's responsibility to tell us how they propose to make it work. Are they going to have to dig a trench across Cumberland Boulevard? That's going to be very difficult. There's a possibility that they could use directional drilling, something along those lines. The existing pipe is inside of a carrier pipe. Maybe they could pull the existing pipe out and put something else back in. These are all options that can be explored, but because it's their error, it's their responsibility to fix it. We will probably also come to the point where this becomes part of price negotiations. I mean, if we're going to accept something other than they were contracted to do, if we would even entertain that, then there's got to be a cost reduction for us to consider. So this has all been moving here pretty quickly within the last couple of days. We're staying in communication with Sarah, and as soon as Lester gets back, we'll conference him in as well as we go forward. But I'm afraid the news on that one is not good.
Does the pay application include work that was done on the second failure?
No. They tried to. We said, no, you need to revise and resubmit. We're not paying you for any future work. Only work you've done so far.
Can I just ask a quick question? So have the residents on 25th been given an update, even if that update is that nothing has changed?
We did update the website, as to when they were going to be doing the lining that they started Monday.
Yeah.
So we did update the website to indicate that. I have not sent out any additional, first-class mail letters to the residents there, but we've been trying to, as we promised them, to keep the update going on the website. I was going to do something again today, and they said wait until we figure out a little bit more. If I'm too proactive and we give them information that 2 hours later is wrong, that doesn't do anybody any good either. So yes, the website has been updated to indicate what the current status of the project is.
I have a quick question also. Do we approve
the options that they come up with, do we approve them, or do they say this is what we want to do?
No, we have the ability to approve it. If they come up with another solution that meets the project specifications, then we can review that and say, yes, it meets the project specifications, go ahead. If they come up with a solution that's outside of the project's specifications, then I think that's a negotiation. So yes, we might let you do something that doesn't meet the spec, but how much money is it gonna save us?
I have a question too. So this company that's doing this, are there other companies that do these liners inside of these pipes and it works for them and this is just a bad company, bad liner, bad?
There are other companies that do it. When we bid the job, we got a total of 5 bids. You know, as we're required to do, it went to the low bidder. In situ form is not an unknown quantity. They do a lot of lining. They're one of the bigger firms in the industry. I don't know if lightning struck twice on this project or they didn't send us their best teams or what the situation was, but it's very disappointing that from a firm like this that they're 0 for 2 on their lining attempts.
My question was related to the attempts to cut out the failed lining. That didn't work when they tried to cut it out on 25th Street. What makes them think that they would have better luck?
Their position is, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's a shorter distance. The 25th Street run was about 750 feet. In order for them to get from the end of the pipe to the place where the defect is the worst is only about 30 feet. So conceivably, it could be done in a reasonable amount of time. We're reviewing the footage though, and we have concerns with other areas of the pipe, not just the first 25 feet, but the other 105 feet as well. So we're continuing to work through that. And I think that it's probably not realistic in terms of time for them to cut out the whole 130-foot run, but it might be for the 25.
And if they only cut out the 25 and then they reline, then the diameter of the part that has 2 linings
It's
is
small.
presumably not
Yep.
meeting specifications.
And that will, I mean, as the pipe gets smaller, the pumps that go into it have to work harder. They move to a different position on their pumping curve and may not deliver the flow that they need to deliver. So these are the kinds of things that in situ form would need to prove to make their case. Yes. The Chesapeake Bay Pollutant Reduction Plan was adopted in 2018. This is something that for permit, and the 2018 plan included a number of BMPs that will be built in order to reduce sediment getting to Chesapeake Bay by a required amount. That required amount is
Best management practices.
yes, I'm sorry, BMPs is best management practices. These are the stormwater treatment facilities, basically. The required amount that we need in order to meet our permit requirement is 145,097 pounds of sediment per year. And I won't bore you with the calculations that go into that, but that's what the original report said. We still agree with that number today. As it turned out, over the course of the 5 years that the plan has been implemented, there have been a couple of opportunities to do different projects that would be more cost effective. The first several, so in the table of my report, BMPs 1 through 4 were in the original report. Those are built, they're done, and functioning as planned. BMPs 5 and 6 would replace some other work that the original plan proposed. Those are the Creek Road Riparian Buffer, which was installed by the Conneaut-Gwinnett Creek Watershed Association, so that one was kind of a freebie. And that gets us a little bit of credit, so we want to document it in our report. And then the bigger one is the Cedar Park Stream Restoration project, which also goes along with a trail and a kayak launch that we managed to get some grant funding for. That's, of all the projects, the largest one, and that would supersede the remaining projects in the 2018 plan, and those were pervious pavement for the borough parking lot, which has an initial cost and an ongoing maintenance cost, and then a series of other rain gardens and kind of pocket BMPs scattered throughout the borough. In the 2018 plan, it didn't necessarily identify each individual property, but just posited that we would figure that out over the course of 5-year implementation. A couple years into the program, so in 2019, 2020, the industry pretty well realized that stream restoration was the best bang for the buck in terms of getting those Chesapeake Bay credits. And so that's when we started to pursue the Cedar Park project. So the suite of projects that we would propose to round out the Chesapeake Bay pollution reduction plan is what's shown in the table. That generates a total of about 186,000 pounds over your 145 is the requirement. We would generate about 186, so we would come in over. We would exceed the goal by about 41,000 pounds. The PRP also documents that, yes, we've exceeded our goal, and we intend to roll those forward into the next permit cycle, which DEP has gone on the record and said that you can do, provided that they don't completely radically change the structure of the entire program. We would continue to take credit for this. The next step, if we want to go forward with this, would be to advertise it for public comment. I would make one note that the version that gets advertised, per a comment from Jennifer, realized that we need to update the zoning map, because the zoning map has changed since 2018. The old plan had the zoning map, so the new plan needs to have the updated zoning map, which is a very good point. So we would request that the pollutant reduction plan be advertised for public comment with the new zoning ordinance. Or sorry, the new zoning map. That would be our requested action for that one.
And then we would have to have a public hearing on the plan in February, and then the final adoption to occur by the end of March.
Yep, at the March meeting. Yep.
Now, when you said if we didn't do this, I mean, it's really not an option, right?
It's really not. If we implement a different set of projects than the plan, the 2018 plan that is currently on the books calls for, we could open ourselves to some kind of violation with DEP.
That's the end of my report.
I just have a quick question. Do we need to also vote tonight to advertise the public hearing next?
Oh, the actual date.
We can just hold the hearing as part of the meeting.
It would be part of the same advertisement.
We usually do it like an hour or a half hour. You're
For something
saying,
like this?
you're saying the hearing itself will just be
Part of the meeting.
Okay.
I don't think you need a whole separate.
I know you guys have met an hour before for ordinances. This is your first time I've been on the plan.
Yeah,
so-
okay. Just checking.
If you think you're gonna get a lot of comments, then we could then have it ahead of the meeting or just have the hearing during the meeting.
Can we indicate that we will post this on our website? Can we indicate that on the website that we will receive public comment as part of our regular council meeting? Thank you.
One more comment. I had noticed also that the zoning map had changed, but I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that the categories, the names of the different zones in the borough also changed. So there's reference to HDRO, which is now MDRO1. So there's just something to take a look at.
Okay, we'll check that and see if any of those are referenced in the text of the old plan to where we would have to change that, or if the map itself.
Community business and government relations.
I don't have much. Our next meeting is tomorrow. We haven't had a meeting for a little while, but we have things to discuss in 2023, so join us at 4 o'clock tomorrow. All the 2023 events for the Downtown Campbell Association are on the website. Downtown Campbell has a new domain name, downtowncampbell.com. And there's also a community survey link regarding downtown events that is available on the downtown Facebook page and on the website. That is all I have.
I just make a comment. I love that little video. That was
That
documenting.
video too.
That was so cool. Who made that video for us?
Julie made it very nice.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Next up is our Parks and Recreation Committee meetings. Okay. Sarah, let me.
All right, we didn't have a meeting last month, but things still going on. So we're gonna have 2 action items. One's gonna be, let's see. One's gonna be requests, actually 2 requests from the Lion Foundation, one for a pool membership for their winter celebration silent auction, and the other one is they'd like a permit to plant a tree, and the placement of a plaque for winter celebration silent auction as well. Usually the Shade Tree Commission is very helpful and they kind of help us figure out where to put that. For the recreation director report, she wanted me to highlight that the summer employment applications are open. So if you know anybody that likes to be a lifeguard or work in the snack shack or be a camp counselor, please apply. We also have pool memberships are going to be available to online starting March 1st, 2023. And then camp updates, they're working on camp details for 2023 and registration will start on March 1st as well. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a quick question. When it comes to the age cutoff for attracting folks, I noticed that lifeguards can be 15 and up, but to be like a counselor for the camp, it's like high, it's like 17 and up. I just was curious because I was like, lifeguard sounds like a lot more responsibility, but I guess being a counselor is pretty responsible too, but these are the things I think about.
That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. The next committee report is planning and zoning.
All right, the monthly and annual reports are in your packets from our code officer, and I will just note that he's been very busy this year. A total of 1,710 calls with $7,027,000, almost $28,000 in construction. This past month, the Planning and Zoning Committee did review the county's Planning Commission comments about our draft zoning ordinance. We agreed with many of the recommendations, but we did have a few that we felt required legal consultation. So the plan is for the remainder of this month to have legal review, some of the recommended changes as well as some of our questions, and then hopefully have the changes completed for review by the Planning and Zoning Committee at our next meeting on February 3rd. If all is good, then at our February 8th council meeting, we hope that the committee will recommend council send the draft back to the borough and county planning commissions, and also to advertise the draft to the public for public comment, and set a hearing date for the council meeting in April. So that's the plan. Okay. Your question? Oh. As part of the final review of the draft zoning ordinance this Friday, the updated floodplain regulations that our consultant had added to the ordinance are going to be reviewed in consultation with a woman named Leslie Rhodes from the Pennsylvania Municipal League. She has drafted the state's model floodplain ordinance, which is to go into effect later this year. And she has agreed to meet with Sarah and Charlie, our zoning consultant, and our codes officer to go over the draft and review any items that she thinks we might still need to change in the draft ordinance. So that's all good as far as the time frame. Also of note, and this is in the minutes, it's kind of exciting. The committee is going to consider amending Chapter 71, which is about animals, to allow for the keeping, potentially allow for the keeping of honeybees. So,
I'm trying.
yeah. So we will look to take information from the Pennsylvania State Beekeepers Association's model ordinance. It's not a requirement that we have an ordinance to allow for beekeeping to join Bee City USA, but we thought it would be a good idea to put in place requirements to allow for it, since it's currently not expressly permitted. Let's see here. Last month, I had mentioned that we had developed a survey to determine what the community interest would be in reducing single-use plastics That survey is now live. It is on the website. It's also on Facebook, and it will be accessible by QR code in the upcoming newsletter. Is it also going to be on Twitter and Instagram? Yes. So it's going to be out there on social media. So please let us know your thoughts and fill out the survey. Let's see. Okay, so on the agenda is an item where we will consider ordinance 2023-01, amending chapter 168, which is sewers, of the Campbell Borough Code of Ordinances. And the changes are in relation to the new sewer rental fees. So what this is about is basically eliminating the specific sewer rates that are currently within the ordinance, and instead, going forward, we will utilize the process of resolution to update the rates. So it's a simpler, less costly process. So the resolution will be voted on tonight, which contains the new sewer rates. Any questions on that? Okay. What else? Climate Action Plan Report. We had a meeting this past Friday evening to review the draft Climate Action Plan. The plan was developed in coordination with residents here in the borough and some council members and Messiah University volunteers assigned by ICLEI, which is is it a state organization? It's a international organization, okay. Science people, okay. So this was the first time we reviewed the draft plan. We had a lot of discussion, largely regarding the organization of the report, the simplicity, making sure that it was easily understood, and also making sure that all of the various options for reducing CO2 equivalencies are listed. The Messiah University team is taking all of our comments from the last meeting and is going to provide us with a draft for the next meeting in February. The action plan will be presented to council at the March meeting. And in April, the plan is to have a town hall style meeting that will be scheduled for the public. And there will be an overview presenting the plan and possibly a few extra speakers on the topic of climate action. And then we will open it up to questions. Then the projected plan is that in our May or June meeting, council will vote to accept or not accept the action plan. And the last item is Bee City. We did not have our meeting in December due to personal conflicts of committee members. So the first meeting of the year will be on January 19th. The meetings are scheduled for the third Thursday of each month this year, and they're all at 4 o'clock. They're all on the Borough Council. So if you are interested in pollinators, we would love to have you come.
First and foremost, wow, lots of work going on in your area, so thank you. A couple thoughts. One is the trending of the information around code enforcement. Could we get trends up there as well? Like maybe, I don't know how good our records are, but maybe like the past 5 years, just to see kind of how we're trending for some of these, I don't know, KPIs?
I don't know what KPI means, but yeah.
Key performance indicator.
Science people, yeah.
Yes. So that would be great to see, right? So it'd be going up or down, or how are we doing?
Like a year to year?
Just like a line over the last 5 years, is that, going up, going down?
You mean like the total calls and total
Yeah, calls,
construction?
complaints, the things we have here. That'd be really great to see.
Or going forward. How about going forward?
This was Colton's first year.
It was his first year.
Okay.
And then you wanna have to like dig through.
Yeah, don't make them do more extra work. I agree, that sounds fair.
But at a minimum, we should be able to go back to January of 2020 or?
To look at 2021.
We're
Yeah.
able to, it's just, I think it won't be a very consistent
Like
trend.
apples to
with COVID
apples,
and-
because it's
Yeah,
gonna change.
yeah, but I don't know that it'll.
Be left
Okay, so maybe moving forward, I like that suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Plastics, single-use plastics, yeah. So in Morocco, they banned all plastic bags while I was there, but I didn't have any problem getting a bag. Like, they had other materials that they made bags out of, right? So I think it, probably need to force people to get off the plastic bandwagon. Yeah.
Well, just to let you know, there is a trend going on here in the United States as well as in the state of Pennsylvania to take action to limit single-use plastics.
I
So,
think we should just be mindful though that we are receiving public comment and we have put out a survey
right,
with the intent of being open-minded.
that's why we did put it out, because there is a trend, it's a complex issue, and we would like to see what the public thinks about it.
Okay, the next committee on the agenda is personnel policy and procedures.
So for our action item, we'd like to consider appointing people to boards and commissions. Do I list who is being considered now? Or we,
I think you could go through the appointees,
for the,
and then you can approve them all in one motion when it comes time. to the
Okay.
motion.
we have
That's my suggestion.
for consideration for an opening on the Civil Service Commission, David Still. For our Planning Commission, Aaron Navarro and Richard Skinner. For Emergency Management, Robert Forbes. Deputy Emergency Management, Deb Donahue. For the Stormwater, what's the official name of the? Stormwater Authority, Carl Schultz. Zoning Hearing Board, Kurt Twyford. Cumberland County Tax Board, Sarah Gibson. And CAPCOG, Bonnie Benz and Michelle Forbes would like to go chair that. Oh, and Rec Commission, Jamie Lawrence, Doug Snyder, and Alexandra Will.
I'm sorry, what did you say would, you would be co-chair? I missed that.
CAPCOG, the capital.
You can have just one be the delegate and the other can be the.
Yeah, can we do
Yeah,
that?
we could coordinate our schedules.
I didn't know if you were on, because I know you've been on that. and
I would love for you to be the alternate.
Okay, so Jennifer Hoover is the primary.
Bonnie will be primary,
That's
and I'll be,
just
The
a last-
alternate.
a last minute change.
we're not taking it.
Is that the only change to CAPCOG? Everything else on here is the same?
I did not look on this, I looked on that.
And will we be dissolving the Board of Health officially?
I think we have to do that by ordinance.
Okay.
We just have that kind of on our to-do list, but
Okay.
not ready to do that.
Yes, everything else is,
So the next committee report then is finance, Sherry.
Perfect. All right, so we did have a meeting scheduled for December 22nd, but we canceled it because of the holidays and, the budget was passed, so that's great news. So thank you for doing that in my absence. I know it's a lot of hard work and I really appreciate it. It was great, and thank you to Jennifer for filling in and making sure we accomplished all those tasks. Our next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for January 26th at 8 a.m. So we will continue on and hopefully continue to have a great experience around the budget. Just a couple of things to point out in the notes here. One is that we will undergo a pension audit. That's not uncommon, and it typically happens every 3 or so as they kind of requested. So there's some work going on around that. You're gonna see in the packet then that when we approve tonight, you know, paying our bills, that we are gonna be planning for a few things. I think I'll just call it out, like the Prosser Hall AV system. So we're getting close to having that up for everybody. You know, some of our bigger bills, we have the health insurance bill, it's about 63K. And we've got a Penn Waste bill of about 65K, so a few big things here. And then we have some HRG engineering services for around 30K. In your packet also is just a summary, and thank you, Jared, for putting some narration around how things ended. I'll just make mention that, and I think I might have mentioned it earlier, that we did great with the budget in 2022, and we were like 2% away from being on target with everything balancing. So I think that's really outstanding given the size of our budget. So we'll just continue to have great discipline. And just thank you for all the different departments that contribute to making sure we stay on budget. We will be making some motions, so we will not only approve the paying of the bills, but we have a few ordinances. If you recall, we do this every year. One is to consider the ordinance to waive the contributions to the police pension plan. And going hand in hand with that is the other side of the coin. We will consider an ordinance to waive the contributions for the non-uniform employee pension plan. And then we will do the resolution to update our sewer rental fees. Any questions?
I just wanted to note, with respect to the waiving of the contributions to the police pension plan, I believe we mentioned at the last meeting that it did come in underfunded, right? So that we'll have to consider, we're doing it this year because it was a last minute, unexpected, underfunded circumstance, but moving forward, we may not be able to do that. Okay, next then is the Borough School District Liaison, also Sherry.
Yeah, that's great. You know, we're making such great strides in building a strong relationship with the school district. So thank you, everybody, for just having an open mind and working together. We are having another school board liaison meeting coming up on January 25th. And so those are open to the public. So people can come and listen in. And I think they also have it over the web too. So anyway, it's just a really great opportunity for us to discuss some hot topics and talk about things, places where we can collaborate. So we're going to continue to put energy behind that effort. So that's what's going on.
Are those meetings held at?
Yes, they're held at Hoover School in their, I don't know what they call it technically, their boardroom.
building.
Their administration.
In the administration building, yeah.
Okay, Stormwater Authority liaison.
Okay, our meeting was held yesterday morning. Okay. So it is estimated that the stormwater CCTV work may be done at the end of March. Once all the televising is complete, that televised information, the grading scores of each of the pipes, and the locations of the pipes will be uploaded into a GIS system that will allow our engineer and our public works director to overlay the stormwater system with the sewer system and with all the road systems. So then they'll have all the facts to be able to prioritize future repairs to stormwater pipes in coordination with road work and sewer work. That will save time and money for both the borough and the storm authority. So they hope to have a prioritized list of future projects for the stormwater authority by mid to late summer. Our engineer did review the stormwater BMPs with the authority. The authority did consider possibly, since we did have an overage as far as we're doing so well, we're over the, goal of eliminating sedimentation into the creek. They did consider maybe cutting the Seabird Park project in half, but then they decided no. You know, since we were over, they thought, well, maybe we should do the whole thing. But they decided, given the fact that if you cut it in half and then schedule it in the future, you may have to cut, you know, dig up the path to finish the project, and chances are costs are gonna be higher. So they agreed to doing the entire Seabird Park Stream Restoration Project. They also spent a lot of time discussing the landscaping plan for the Seabird Park project. Concern was with regard to the plantings, you know, what is the view of the creek when you're on the path, and how will you access the stream? So at our next stormwater meeting, the engineer and HRG's landscape architect will provide some riparian plant options for the stream bank and between the new tree plantings. But ultimately, regardless of what is planted there, the long-term goal of the restoration is that the stream area with age will be an increased wooded area with tree canopy. So that's the long-term goal. Short-term, you know, depending upon what is chosen, you know, may take a little bit to get there, but ultimately it will get there. So if you want to hear about the plan, that's at next month's meeting. Which I do not have the date in my head for that, but it's on the calendar.
Can you just clarify one thing for me though? Even though, if they came forward to us with a different idea, whether it was dividing the plan into two parts and or making changes to landscaping, et cetera, we as council would still have approval
I would assume, yes, we would all have to
and
have a
agree or
discussion about
disagree
that.
of whatever recommendations they would make if they were different than what we know today.
It's borough property,
Yeah.
so we would potentially have the ability to tell them they could not do something, but they would be holding purse strings on the project. So if they decided they didn't want to pay for something, they would be pulling back because the authority wouldn't pay for it. And I guess hypothetically, the borough could do it ourselves instead, or in addition to supplement what they would pay for. But we didn't really talk about whether the borough should formally, well, I guess by adopting it into the Chesapeake Bay plan, the council would essentially be allowing that project to take place on borough land.
Well, we've applied for the grants to get,
There's lots of grants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was us applying to that, not the stormwater authority, correct? Or what, in conjunction with the
In
stormwater?
conjunction, the Stormwater Authority's project is a match for the borough's DCNR grant. That's our match. The whole project is one thing. So it goes hand in hand, but yeah, they need to have bought into the project that they're paying for. So that's why we literally were in the weeds yesterday with the plans on the wall and getting into the nitty gritty of it, because I don't want them to have a project that they're not satisfied with and that you're not satisfied with. So.
Just a real quick question. That stream in Seabird Park, is that the Blackberry Run stream then? Okay, perfect.
Blackberry Spring Run.
Is that what it's called, Blackberry Spring? Okay.
I think I covered everything.
Okay, thank you. Any updates on library stuff? All right, thank you. And Capcog.
There was no meeting in December. The next meeting will be on January 16th, which is their annual dinner, and I think they do a reorganization in some form. They will be having a speaker, the state treasurer will be speaking, and Sherry Bowman and Michelle Forbes will be attending that meeting. I will not be available. So we'll hear about that next month.
Thank you. We have now reached the second period of public comment. If there are any public comments related to action items that will follow under new business, you can share them at this point, and there'll be a third public comment period that is open for any business or any comments not related to business. on the agenda. So if you have comments related to action items, please come up, state your name, address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, then we will move on to our action items, beginning with Mercedes and public safety.
Great, I'd like to move. Sorry, wording's kind of funny. I'd like to move for the promotion of Carson O'Connor to sergeant effective January 15th, 2023.
Is there a second? Thank you. We have a motion and a second to promote Carson O'Connor to sergeant effective 1/15/23. Any conversation? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great, congratulations on the promotion, Sergeant Carson O'Connor. Public Works.
I move that we approve change order number 2 to New Enterprise Stone and Lime Company Incorporated for paving in the amount of negative $17,633.22 and close the contract.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve change order number 2 to New Enterprise Stone and Lime Company and close the contract. Any conversation? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries.
I move that we approve change order number 2 to Lexcon Incorporated for the 34th and Walnut Street Sewer Replacement Project in the amount of negative $25,467.74.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve change order number 2 to Wexcon Inc. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
I move that we approve application for payment number 3, the final payment to Lexcon Incorporated for the 34th and Walnut Sewer Replacement Project in the amount of $49,369.10.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the application for payment number 3, the final payment to Wexcon Inc. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
I move that we approve application for payment number 1 to HRI for the Cedar Park Sewer Pump Station Project in the amount of $44,821.12.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve application for payment number 1 to HRI for the Cedar Park Sewer Pump Station. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move that we advertise the amended Chesapeake Bay Pollution Reduction Plan, provided that we review and make the revisions that we discussed, for public comment and consideration for adoption at the March 8th council meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to advertise the amended Chesapeake Bay Pollution Reduction Plan for public comment and consideration for adoption. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Finally, I move that we authorize advertisement of items for sale on Municipal. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to authorize advertisement of items for sale on Municipal. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, Parks and Recreation, Mercedes.
I move to approve donation of family pool membership up to $184 value to the Lime Foundation for the winter celebration silent auction.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the donation of family pool membership to the Lion Foundation. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion carries.
I'd like to move to approve the request from the Lion Foundation for a permit, start over. I'd like to move to approve request from Lion Foundation to permit the planting of a tree and placement of a plaque for the winter celebration silent auction.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the request from the Lion Foundation to permit the planting of a tree and placement of a plaque. Any discussion? All those in
I'm just curious what it is.
It's a tree and then the plaque that goes with it. So if somebody wants to do a memorial tree for somebody, then they'd be bidding to have a tree planted somewhere.
Are you paying for the tree?
No, it's just a permit so they can do it. So usually we have to go to Parks and Rec to approve any memorial trees.
Oh, I didn't know that, okay, thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Planning and zoning.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-01, amending chapter 168 sewers of the Campbell Borough Code of Ordinances in relation to sewer rental fees.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-01, amending chapter 168 of the Borough Code. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. PPP.
I move to approve the appointment of the slate of candidates to the boards and commissions.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the slate of candidates to the various boards and commissions that were outlined in the first part of the meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Finance.
Okay, great. First, I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-2 to waive contributions to the police pension plan.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-02 to waive contributions to the police pension plan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, next. Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-3 to waive contributions to the non-uniform pension plan.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-03 to waive contributions to the non-uniform pension plan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Next up, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-1, updating our sewer rental fees.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-1, updating our sewer rental fees. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, I make a motion for the payment of checks in the amount of $757,463.21. I'll tell you I'm out of practice.
We have a motion and a second for the payment of our monthly bills. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, we have now reached the third period of public comment. We welcome any comments that you might have to share at this point. We just ask that you come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing no public comment, we are now at the period where there is an opportunity for council to provide closing remarks. I'll start with you, Sherry.
Great, well, I just hope we have, 2023 is just as great as 2022. Let's just keep the ball rolling. Thank you.
Thank you. Bonnie.
No comment.
I just want to say thank you to our staff, our engineers, and everyone looking back on things achieved. Everyone's been very busy, so thank you.
There's a community business meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. And yes, thank you, staff, engineers, everyone who works so hard for the borough. It's very fun to be participating in it.
I would just add a particular thank you to everyone dealing with in-situ forms. And our sewer lining, which was supposed to be completed this summer. And we appreciate all you're doing to get the issue resolved. And with that, sorry. Don't feel obligated at all. I'm sorry.
Right? Yeah.
Here.
I don't have much to say, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, well, with that, we will adjourn. There you go.